Good morning, everyone. My name is Amanda, and I am a registered dietitian. I presently work for Functional Nutrition RX, which is a private practice located in Babylon, Suffolk County, Long Island, of course. So in this role, I'm the lead dietitian. There's about 13 dietitians working under Functional Nutrition RX at this time. We provide in-person and virtual nutrition counseling. uh, Being that we're located in person, we have access to the in-body scale as a part of our work, as we are located actually inside a large gym in Babylon. So we tend to work in an interdisciplinary manner with the sports chiropractor, as well as the doctor of acupuncture, and of course the personal trainers. And in the past, we've had physical therapists also working all under the same roof. So it's Elevation Fitness is the gym. However, Functional Nutrition RX is the nutrition practice. So we'll do sometimes different tabling events. The gym was having a fun member appreciation. So we did nitric oxide testing actually for our members of the gym and provided them with education on ways to increase their nitric oxide if needed, or other healthy alternatives for their pre-workout. However, working as a private practice registered dietitian is actually more of a clinical job when you think about it, even though where we are is inside of a gym location. We are actually helping to work with the chiropractor to recommend various labs for our patients. So, and different functional testing. So at intake, we ask our patients to fill out a pre-visit questionnaire with all of their previous health history, information about themselves, their relationship with food, what they eat in a day, their medications, their supplements, past medical history, different diagnoses, any past altered labs, or to upload any recent labs, preferably last 3 months to at least a year. And then from there, we greet the patient, whether in person or virtual. And sometimes it's over the telephone, believe it or not, too. Everyone's level of comfort's different, or accessibility, or coming and going at different times. So with that being said, we meet with the patient and we go through their intake questionnaire with them, get to know them, why they're coming in, what symptoms they might be having, or goals that they want to achieve. We go over that health history together, labs, supplements, make sure nothing was forgotten, or also just to, tell the story to actually get to know the person. Sessions are about 60 minutes for an initial counseling session. And then throughout, we assess them, right? Get to know what was their vitals, maybe the last time they were at their primary care physician, what physicians have they seen prior. So we'll see patients for a whole slew of reasons, often weight loss or healthy body recompositioning, right? Loss of visceral fat or body fat, increase of muscle mass, more targeted metabolic health focus versus just indiscriminate weight loss is often why a lot of people are coming in to manage the different digestive concerns they have. Many people have gone from specialist to specialist, and now they're saying, why not give nutrition a shot? And often we're able to really help a lot of individuals, especially suffering with various GI conditions like GERD, IBS, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, small intestinal bowel overgrowth, or SIBO, small intestinal fungal overgrowth, or just dysbiosis, or what they believe might be signs of leaky gut, or a more professional term would be altered dysbiosis or increased gut permeability, depending on the symptoms. Often people will come in with various metabolic health concerns like heart disease, diabetes, wanting to lower their blood sugars or understand their blood sugars, positively impact their lipid profile, like lower their LDL, their bad cholesterol, increase their good cholesterol, HDL cholesterol, and better understand the type of particles they're forming based on their diet or maybe their genetics or a combination of things. We have some individuals who come in for, say, acne, or say different eczema, different other conditions that they might want to understand if diet or has a trigger or an effect on their various signs and symptoms. Most commonly, though, too, we're seeing a lot of people starting to come in for hormone abnormalities. Maybe they're trying to conceive, maybe they have PCOS, or very difficult menstruation cycles or irregular. We see men for low testosterone, and they're trying to focus on increasing it from a healthy mindset, people who are trying to just age more healthily. And of course, we get the athletes, right? The people who are trying to feel for their sport from high school age upwards to college and above, marathoners, triathlon competitors, or people who are just trying to increase their muscle mass and strength train. So we do see a wide variety of patients, and that's why we do have a wide variety of dietitians. As the lead dietitian, I also help with precepting students, so who come from various dietetics programs, and I'll get into becoming a registered dietitian. Also, with that being said, part of my role is helping to inspire content for Instagram, which I'll go through, helping to proof newsletters or to outline topics for our newsletter, and then to proof the edit of that newsletter. I also help with various seminars and programs that we're running. I help to create the PowerPoint presentations, cheat sheets, handouts, recipes, marketing, as in like Instagram posts and things for those presentations and seminars. Yeah, it's always a different day, which is really cool. So it's a mixed bag of responsibilities. I also get to train as a personal trainer. It helps to break up my day, and I find that work truly very fulfilling. So as well, even though I am a dietitian, I'm also a personal trainer, and I'll often train just a handful of clients that I'm also seeing nutritionally, just to become a little bit more mobile and comfortable in their body. So again, my name's Amanda. And so now that I've gone over a little bit of, what I do, I guess I could go into what a typical day is like. So I'll get up in the morning. Of course, you got to practice what you preach. So work out first thing in the morning, feel my workout appropriately, eat a healthy breakfast in the office, and often back to back with patients, or first proofing charts, looking at who's coming in, what situations do I have, coming up. I'll see patients say 8 to 8:45. I'll see an 8:45 to 9:30 if they're follow-ups. Follow-ups are about 45 minutes. And then, of course, there's various meetings. So we'll host team meetings where all the dietitians can come together and share ideas, information. We'll have different topics. So this week, we're actually going to be going over just initial intake, as we've hired a couple new dietitians recently, which I do help to train and onboard. So we're going to go over just the flow for people. During a counseling session, seeing, where some people might be doing something different, who might have really good input for others, or to navigate different situations. So we do truly work as a team. The dietitians, we keep actually like a group chat and a forum time in our meeting. It's all HIPAA compliant in our EMR, the group chat, where we'll post, hey, I'm working with a client, I've got this situation going on. Anybody familiar with this? Anybody have, good input, on this question? We all tend to really help each other out and jump in as a team. So it is really great working as a registered dietitian. I love my job. I've worked now each completely different locations. So I guess next I'll go more into the topic of, my career path. And then, I'll flow into education and what's required now for students to become a registered dietitian. So back in the day, it was a little different, actually. So I went to SUNY Oneonta, as it's one of the great SUNY schools for dietetics, actually. And with that being said, I had the opportunity to play lacrosse. So it really helped me to navigate fueling my workout, strength training, seeing what other professionals working in the field do with athletes, how, the dietitian on campus worked with us, how the strength training coaches or conditioning coaches worked with us, for example, or just different things that we learned in the weight room. So I started off at Oneonta. I did my minors in personal training and chemistry. And of course, my major was in dietetics. So I played for the first 2 years. And then after playoffs, I had said, you know, I feel like we really got to where we wanted to get to in terms of our goals with playing sports in college. I was playing Division 3. Now it's time to make more time for me to really focus on building my career because I'm going to keep myself fit, whether I'm playing a sport or not. It's a responsibility. And also, with that being said, I'm not going to play in college. So it really gave me some, I mean, played professionally women's lacrosse. So with that being said, I moved on to getting more involved in clubs on campus, which was really, really important in being able to apply and match for dietetic rotations, supervised practice. So I was the president of our Food and Nutrition Association, and I also was on the executive board for our BFit Club, which was the personal training club. I was also in the what was it? There was like an on-campus sports performance club too, nutrition or performance, where we would each have a team that we sponsored essentially as their nutrition coach, and we would get to work with the dietitian, work with the athletes, follow the team along, help them with any issues they may be having, you know, look ahead where they're going for games, pick out healthy foods for the coach to, you know, have them pack on the bus. So that was really helpful. So I got really involved on campus, which actually helped me to get my first job down the road because work I did on campus was actually going to be very similar to work I was going to be doing in real life. So it's always really important to think of that when you are a college student and you're doing different projects and activities that they will, your journey, everything happens in your journey for a reason, on your path for a reason. Things do resurface. So after Oneonta, at that point in time, so I'll share my screen. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics recently changed what was considered to be the criteria to become a registered dietitian. So many dietitians have been getting their master's anyway because it's been required for different jobs. But now it's officially become written in stone before you, sorry, I'm just reading this pop up. So it's now officially written in stone that you have to get your master's before you sit for the board exam. So in my path, this was actually my like e-portfolio I had made in college. So this was going to be used as like a tool for dietetic internship or supervised practice interviews, but also it actually helped me for interviewing for my first 2 jobs. So it's interactive. It actually shows that you have digital skills, making websites, that you have various abilities to be creative in terms of your design. It displays different skills. I'm not sure, however good or bad mine are right now with this, but it helps to paint a picture of what is you when you're in an interview. So I did mine on Wix because now I'm showing my age. Um, so I put my resume on here at the time and I made it, you know, PDF accessible. I then also uh, displayed what I did on campus. So I did undergraduate experiences. So you can navigate from the home screen there too. So it'd be undergraduate experiences. I did campus involvement. These are all the things I did on campus. I also built like a mentor mentee program with the Food and Nutrition Association. I linked the Instagram. Like I really wanted them to understand like who I am as a person versus just a resume. And I think this was a big important part in getting to where I needed to be. And I think it was a good tool. So I did also my nutrition experience, which was all part of becoming a registered dietitian. You can intern different places. So I was up in Oneonta. So I worked with, you know, different a childhood, how should I say, education program and nutrition program called Head Start. That's available through most of the counties now in New York State. I made various newsletters, so I linked those newsletters because, you know, that's your hard work. You know, put it on display, especially if you feel proud of it. I did, you know, the internship I had with the Cornell Cooperative Extension out here in Suffolk County, which I think probably still takes interns from Suffolk, I believe, too. And of course, I actually started as just a general volunteer at St. Catherine's, And one day they had like no idea what to do with me. There was no one there. I'm just going to be completely honest. I showed up and there was like no one there for orientation or anything. And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to introduce myself to the dietitians, go downstairs to the diet office, say, how can I help you? Can I, take some work off your plate? And it turned into a whole summer internship at in the diet office where I was able to build really good connections, and I actually got to go up onto the floors. So the nursing home there, and then they took me under the tunnel sometimes into the actual hospital. So I was able to get little pockets of experience, clinical, pediatrics and community, of course, while I was in undergrad, and of course, like sports nutrition. So I'm building my own internship so I can explain or my supervised practice so that when I go to match for this supervised practice, I can show to them, hey, I'm capable because I'm already doing it. So that was just a really important thing I felt that a professor had given us guidance on, to show that and display that when you're applying to these higher education programs, which all of you are going to end up doing down the road in some facet, no matter what path in medicine you're going. So I just thought that that was really helpful. I also made a personal training experience section as well, just to help when I was getting odd jobs as a personal trainer, going to school. You never know what's going to help you. So eventually, I'm actually going to segment off. So I was going into like my career path, but now, like, because I'm on the topic of education, I might as well talk about what it is now to become a registered dietitian. So to be a registered dietitian, I'm pulling up the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics website. And essentially what I did is become an RDN. So if any of you want to visit this site, it's absolutely, it's eatright.org. And then you press become an RDN, or registered dietitian nutritionist, because everyone thinks dietitians, nutritionists, there's a difference. There is. So all dietitians are nutritionists, but not all nutritionists are dietitians, right? You can have nutritionists who are people that got a weekend certification online and now they're calling themselves a nutritionist. You can have someone who calls themselves a nutritionist and are actual doctors of naturopathy and are extremely qualified professionals. So just like anywhere, anything in medicine too, where someone has a doctor in front of their name, you just want to know, of what was their education, what they do. But specifically registered dietitians, we are a nationally recognized certification, essentially. So RDN, registered dietitian, you are registered. Essentially, that's what actually matters. Dietitian, nutritionist, they've linked the two together because people don't, people think nutritionist means more than dietitian, or dietitian means more than nutritionist. It's all semantics. So essentially, the term registered dietitian nutritionist is the proper term. And just like there's the American Medical Association for medical doctors, there's the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which is the national entity for dietitians, registered dietitian nutritionists. So sometimes some professionals haven't fully adapted to this yet. You'll see RD after their name or RDN. It means the same thing. So with that being said, they have different videos here if you're interested in becoming a dietitian. Dietitians work everywhere there's food. The military doing tactical military nutrition to help, servicemen and women fuel for their day-to-day activities. Sports arenas, of course, from high school age up. You can find dietitians in all sorts of medical institutions, inpatient, outpatient, ICUs, dialysis centers, especially cancer centers, most medical institutions or formats that you would see outpatient. For example, you won't see us in like a lab, right? Of course, but research, you'll see dietitians working in the field of research. And of course, nursing homes, rehabs, eating disorder units. You'll see dietitians working for food service companies in all facets there. doing, tablings, education there, to working one-on-one with the chefs, to helping to plan menus, to marketing, etc. You see dietitians even working for the big companies sometimes, like Coca-Cola, to try to make things better. But you also see dietitians working in public policy, and sometimes now, not sometimes, you've always seen dietitians working for the FDA, but you're seeing a more increased role now of dietitians being hired more and more in for NIH and at the FDA in the past year or two. So there's a positive sign there. You see dietitians a lot now in communications. You're starting to see more online on Instagram just to try to overpower all the influencers. You see dietitians now on the Today Show, Joy Bear, who is usually doing some kind of cooking segment, but it seems that they're now trying to have her do more educational segments, and they bring on a lot of other dietitians around the area. Like I said, there's the limits are, there are not a lot of limits as a dietitian nowadays in terms of locations of work. You can find dietitians working on cruise ships, for example, right? So anywhere there's food, usually there's some kind of dietitian helping to either oversee it or be a part of it. So with that being said, this can explain more information on the field. If someone's trying to become a registered dietitian, right, this site also explains a lot of the steps, the locations, like I was saying, food service operations, performing medical nutrition therapy, community population health settings. You'll see in like a lot of county healthcare clinics, for example, especially with diabetes education. But dietitians, the field is looking to grow about 11% in the upcoming years, and the salary is just averaging 79, but it's going up depending on what you do and how much you're in the field, especially if you go into like some operating or helping some kind of business management, research, education. You'll see higher earners there, even dialysis, oncology. So that's changing, and that's part of why I think the masters had become required. So with that being said, the requirements to become a registered dietitian used to be, for me, I just had to do 4 years undergrad. I had to apply via matching process with a 50% match rate via this outdated system, and which was just updated. And then you match with a program. You do complete your supervised practice, which I'll go into next, for about a year. And then you apply for the board exam, and you take the board exam and typically start working. And then typically a lot of dietitians do go off and get their master's, because there is continuing education that's needed. So every 5 years, we have to submit 75 hours of continuing education. So often dietitians get their master's after, and there's a lot of upper level jobs that if you want to work in oncology or renal or the ICUs or research or outpatient, you should have a master's. So that's been almost like a requirement for those jobs for a while now. So a lot of dietitians have been getting their masters, because you would see things as like masters preferred on job applications. Doesn't mean don't apply if you don't, but know that if someone applies with a master's, they're probably going to get favored. So with that being said, this year is actually the first year, and a lot of the schools are having an interesting transition with this. So now you must earn a minimum of graduate degree from an accredited dietetics program. So remember when I was saying Oneonta, right? Oneonta and Cornell and Plattsburgh, I believe, are the only three accredited SUNY schools, because part of Cornell is SUNY, part is private, I think. So accredited just means the accrediting agency of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics came in, looked at their standards, looked at their syllabuses, looked at the whole department program, and accredited it. It gets done, I think, every 10 years or so. But that aside, you have to have a graduate degree from an accredited dietetics institution or program, and then a master's degree or a master's degree. Excuse me. A master's degree is required to be eligible for the board exam, is what I'm saying. So often what happens is now someone does their 4 years undergrad, and then they're applying to some kind of combined master's supervised practice and master's program and supervised practice program. So what is the supervised practice program? So when you do it separate and it's not a part with the master's, it's essentially a year's time about September to June, where you're paying tuition and you are getting matched through different rotations within the institution that you do your supervised practice with. So for me, I really wanted to be with Sodexo. Why? Because Sodexo has contracts with hospitals all over the country. And Sodexo, next to the United States military, is the second largest employer of registered dietitians at the time. And I was thinking jobs. Also, Sodexo, if you want to be in one of the best burn units, you could be in one of the best burn units. If you want to be, working with some of the best diabetes educators, they'll put you at Lenox Hill. And so it's kind of like the tri-state area where I did my supervised practice. It was New York, but mostly, of course, lower Westchester, Manhattan, all the boroughs and Long Island, but I was mostly on Long Island. I would sometimes go into Connecticut, Jersey. So it was also a year I had to get really comfortable with driving, carpooling with fellow students, and navigating city traffic. So it was a big growing year, aside from just, figuring out like, where am I going? I'm going to spend 1 month in, Peconic Hospital. Now I'm going to spend, I wanted to be a CNSC. So that's like a critical care dietitian. So put me at a hospital where there's a lot of ICUs and they're known for trauma. So Jamaica Hospital. So I got to be in the ICUs there a lot. I got time in St. Barnabas's burn unit. I got time at Stony Brook, actually. That's where I was working with the campus dietitian there. That's where I started with like food service management rotation. So you bounce around in your supervised practice. It's typically more clinical. You spend at least 6 months in a hospital. And then you'll go, like I thought I really wanted to work with kidneys. So I spent a month just in a renal dialysis center. And I thought that was a very interesting and eye-opening experience. So you do at least 1,000 hours of supervised practice where you're working one-on-one with a whole bunch of different registered dietitians. And for example, you're going up on the floors of the hospital, you're seeing the patient, and they're ever more and more and more, giving you more and more freedom. There's different knowledge competencies that you have to hit with each rotation. So right now I'm giving supervised practice to a student from Long Island University Post. So she's with me for 3 months for a functional nutrition rotation. So I have to make sure she reaches certain knowledge competencies set forth by the dietetic internship that she needs to fulfill in order to move on. And then, so forth, keep evolving, and then, pass her supervised practice. And that's, performing different completing different education materials, shadowing patients, how she works with patients, how she talks to patients, working on assessment, etc. So the supervised practice is a big year. It's an amazing year. And then afterwards, after the master's degree and supervised practice, again, that could be a combination done together. You would go on to pass the national exam for registered dietitian. So you go to a testing center and you take the board exam, and you'll find out actually right then and there in that moment if you pass or fail. And then that's how you essentially become a registered dietitian. So there's licensure in various states, then there's different requirements for licensure that varies, but essentially fulfilling these 3 competencies above here is what's the biggest chunk of, bullet 4 for licensure. And then, of course, like I said, we have to do 75 hours of continuing education every 5 years. So that is what bullet 5 is. So just going through, because Mike actually gave me a couple of questions to make sure I hit. So of course, you guys can always, let me know if you have any questions about the field in general. So one of the questions on here is, why do you think the dietetics profession is vital for students to pursue as possible career paths. So, like I was saying before, the field is growing, right? They're having more education requirements to give registered dietitians a lot more information to empower their practice, as you guys probably have been on TikTok and Instagram. And unfortunately, there is so much out there. And what's really cool too is part of my career is at first I started working as a registered dietitian, as a campus dietitian for Stony Brook University. So I worked with athletes, I worked with students, I helped them navigate the dining hall, I worked with the chefs, I did all different education seminars, I popped into different lectures. It was an amazing first job. Then I went on to the Stony Brook World Trade Center Health and Wellness Program. That's actually where I met your professor, Mr. Berger. And there is where we worked very much hand in hand with research and clinic functions, meaning that my coworker Katie and I, we co-founded the nutrition department there, meaning we had to hold focus groups and get to know our patients. We had to see what their needs and wants were. Do you focus on the most critical patient and population? Do you focus on the people who are what you would say the yellow zone, meaning that they're not so sick yet, but they're at risk? Or do you focus by disease state? What do you do? So we started seeing patients referred by the doctors for various conditions. And then we realized, with 9/11, and I'm not sure how much, has been gone into, the 9/11 population, the responders, of course, have a series of conditions that they are developing or are known to develop at a higher rate compared to the general population. So what I'm pulling up is our website actually for this program. So we created a program where responders could come see us completely for free, unlimited. And what would happen is they would first enter our building for their monitoring visit, which was typically a 3-hour visit with different research clinicians, their provider, pharmacists sometimes, mental health professionals like social workers and PsyD. They would also, of course, get seen sometimes by nutrition, but often our visits are so much longer. Initials are 60 minutes and follow-ups are about 45 minutes, meaning they're already there for 3 hours, and we were drawing the blood at the visits, our clinic. So we wanted to wait till the blood came back so we could look at it and then be able to educate based on it, right? So the patients were encouraged who were interested or in need of nutrition services to book an appointment, and we would see them either virtual or in person. And they would come in if they had altered labs. So if their doctor had said, hey, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, your cholesterol's high. I really want you to see the dietitians. I'm going to forward you over to member services. They'll help get you scheduled. They'll see you next week, next month, etc. And I really want them and you to work together to lower this cholesterol. They might educate a little bit on the ways to lower that to help bridge them over to the next appointment. So then the patient would come in, we would do an assessment, and we would help them with whatever goal they were coming in for, of course. Also in that role, we helped as research coordinators and in part authors on various research studies. So we created this was our general website explaining, what we do as dietitians in our one-on-one counseling. They've since changed it to about 30 minutes for a follow-up and 45 minutes for an initial consult because it is a larger healthcare institution and the volume of patients have been increasing. With that being said, we created different educational videos, and these would always be up here, of course, for our patients to reference. And then during that study that I had just mentioned, it was a study on the Mediterranean diet's influence on inflammation and PTSD, as PTSD is an inflammatory condition, and the Mediterranean diet is an anti-inflammatory diet. We drew their blood. We looked at their inflammatory molecules. We looked at their lipids, their blood glucose, like their A1C we looked at, which is a 3-month average of their blood sugar, you know, at the beginning, baseline, 3 months post, and then 3 months after that. The Mediterranean diet group, which was my group, got medical grade olive oil, and they got a weekly video series here, which was like a curriculum they would follow, and they would have handouts. So this was actually my pandemic project. So when I was in between patient appointments, I actually worked on making this little site for them using Wix free website generator. We even put like little recipe packets and stuff for them here. So this was used for the intervention. So after Stony Brook, I really was feeling in love with doing research, in love with that patient population. And in that role, I felt like I got to accomplish a lot of things I wanted to do. I was helped to make a patch wall from an idea my brother and I have just, brainstormed one night for our patients to help them find more sense of community when they step foot in the office, aside from just the bare white clinical walls, to put the patches up similar to what they would have in most local precincts, fire departments, EMS agencies, to make it feel more homey, but also for them to see the fellow patches of all the community members that came together that day and those subsequent months to put their own personal lives aside to help others, right? And for them to see those patches and say, oh, I know that patch. I was a part of that unit. A fellow, brother or sister is here or has been here. I'm not alone, because a lot of them get very scared going into those monitoring visits, as often we're scanning, giving them referrals for cancer screening and different medical referrals for the issues they're dealing with. So that was part of my role there at WTC. I helped make, the newsletters there and other special projects. So after that, though, as you could see, like the visits had been cutting back in length because of the volume of patients. I was tired working for a large institution where when you work for a larger institution, sometimes the work becomes more so we're paying this amount of rent, the square footage, patient space, how many visits do we have to be able to turn to pay these salaries, to cover this rent, to cover the demands of this grant we're working on. And it became very eye-opening, right? So I had learned so much there and loved working there so much, and then felt, you know what, I'm ready to be able to give more to my patients and be able to build up the level of care that I want to provide. And so I was able to move on to private practice, where I had been working part-time for about a year and a half before coming on full-time. And the private practice I work at is Functional Nutrition RX. So this is part of our Instagram, our website, of course. We, like I said, provide medical nutrition therapy to our patients. And of course, it's a different entity, being private. It's nice, but it's also more diverse, right? So I worked with a lot of different disease states at WTC, so it helped prepare me for here. Meaning, WTC responders have a lot of different, medical conditions, right? Like cancer, they have GERD, they might have IBS or IBD, but a lot of those conditions also go hand in hand with some of the jobs they were working too. We know police officers are more prone for various heart disease, same with firefighters. So we're also managing cardiometabolic health, like blood sugar issues, diabetes, weight loss. So I had been trained to work with a lot of different conditions besides just being, nope, I only see patients with GERD, or nope, I only see patients who are trying to lose weight. I was able to keep myself very diversified. So in the nutrition field, it's good to be diversified, where sometimes if you're working as a doctor, it's more so about how specified you can get within that field. But this is our Instagram. So, for example, I help to say, to one of our dietitians, we need to make some posts on, healthier beverages or for breast cancer coming up. We're getting a lot of questions on that. So that's part of my role. I actually helped to shoot some videos. There's Sam. She also helps to shoot some videos. So yeah. And with that being said, that's part of my role now. I also still work in research for Stony Brook. I'm working more as a personal trainer right now, writing an intervention for a study that we're going to perform on WTC responders with a history of cancer and their health outcomes following a structured exercise program. So that's also a part of my role as a registered dietitian who's also a personal trainer. And that was also my career path and the educational requirements to become a registered dietitian now. I hope that this was helpful for you guys. I hope that this provided good information to you guys to help you get started in the healthcare field. Healthcare is changing right now. It's going two different directions. It's going one route, a very institutionalized route that I think is starting to change. And then it's also going another route, which is very personalized medicine, lifestyle medicine, um, focusing on getting to know the individual, understanding what's their sleep like, their exercise, their nutrition, their substance management. Are they abusing alcohol or drugs? What's their community dynamics? What's their mental well-being like? And helping to come up with a holistic healthcare plan to get to the root of whatever is causing that manifestation of their issues, right? So you're seeing the advent of ever since the Human Genome Project has been evolving more and more and more to understanding our diets from a personalized genetic level. That's also actually one of the tests that we offer at Functional Nutrition RX. We offer different GI mapping or stool testing. We offer different hormone testing. We offer Dutch testing, which is a deeper hormone testing. There's more and more coming out now for us to be able to understand our bodies. And I think the field of integrative and functional medicine, where I'm practicing in the space of integrative and functional lifestyle medicine, nutrition, it's here to stay. It's growing. And I'm really, really excited being a dietitian in this field. I was a little concerned at first with the new educational changes, and in the way of, I think it's good to be required, but it's nice for people to start working first and then be able to do the master's. But I think now there's so much information you have to know that it's going to bring about even better dietitians, and the field's only going to get better and better and better. The jobs are growing, the patient interest is there. And by the way, with our private practice, no one pays a dime, meaning that the Preventative Care Act covers the copay. So most people don't have a copay, and their insurances are starting to get better in that they're covering preventative healthcare services. So I have a lot of patients who come see us completely covered 100% unlimited visits by their health insurance. Some it's 6 visits a year, some it's like every 3 months. There's different things, but for the most part, we don't have an issue with coverage. Thank God, due to the Preventative Care Act. So I just think the world is changing. I'm so happy. I wanted to become a dietitian since I was in 7th grade as like a pudgy lacrosse goalie who wanted to be able to sprint with the attack players. And of course, like what got me also into the field besides, sports nutrition is I had family members who had different health conditions, and I wanted to know how to treat them as I was starting to learn and understand that it's not just a pill to cure every ill. Diet is quite literally what you eat. I hate the expression "you are what you eat" because there's so much to unpack with that. But what I mean is the food that you eat powers your cells. The food that you eat becomes the skin on your hands. It enables your heart to have the energy to pump. What nutrition, the nutrition plays such a large role in our health, and we're only scratching the surface of it. And I'm just so excited for the years to come. And yeah, so if any of you have questions about becoming a registered dietitian, what it's like, shadowing experience, etc., I'm here. You can always reach out through, of course, Professor Mike. And again, I hope I didn't bore anybody. And I hope you guys have a really wonderful rest of your class.